Welcome all of you looking to blend technology, teaching strategies, and emerging trends to create engaging educational experiences. Let's meet Marcus. He has a presentation coming up and is ready to start working on the presentation materials. He's sat in on numerous presentations before that were either boring or dry or confusing, and he just doesn't want to come across like that to his audience. He knows that ultimately the success of the presentation will come down to the content and delivery of the presentation, but it wouldn't hurt to sweeten it up by having a killer presentation aid. But how does he make an aid that he knows will be beneficial and won't damage the overall presentation? Well, Marcus, we've got some tips to show you just how to make that presentation aid work for you. So let's go ahead and take a look at them. So there are a ton of presentation aids out there, everything from PowerPoint to Prezi to Keynote and more. We've used an MP4 and digital lesson in live presentations as our presentation aids before. Now, although each software has different bells and whistles and items that you can use, they all still boil down to two purposes. One, serve as a roadmap for the audience members to keep track of the discussion. And two, serve as a reminder to the presenter of what the next item to talk about is. So with this in mind, there are best practices to focus on when preparing your presentation aids that will carry across all of the software packages regardless of the one that you prefer to use. So tip 1, keep your words on a slide to a minimum. This comes back to the main point of making sure that the aid serves as a reminder, not a script. If you put too many words on a slide, both you and your audience will tend to read it. No one wants to be read to at a presentation, and if your audience reads it, they will be able to read it faster than you can present it. Thus, they're going to be sitting there bored waiting for you to catch up. So generally speaking, try to stick to 3 or 4 bullets in most cases. For each bullet, try to hover around 4 to 6 words. Doing that will make you choose your words carefully. So remember that you just need the words that will trigger the, "Oh, that's what I meant to talk about" next. Not tell you verbatim what to say. Tip 2, use images on most of your slides. Unless you have a very specific reason not to, put at least one image on every slide. Now make sure that you follow all of the copyright guidance when finding images online and don't settle for anything that has word marks or things like that on them. Get good pictures that relate to the content you're talking about. After that, feel free to play around with it a bit using the graphic features in the software to make the images look a little slicker. For PowerPoint specifically, we'll put a link in the description with how to edit images along with links to copyright use items and free resources to find images just in case you need to go out there and get some. Now this tip takes a little bit of time to do, but the payoff on it is huge. Tip 3, keep your layouts simple. Find good, clean templates to use or create one with shapes and tools in the software. But unfortunately, these software packages allow us the ability to do a lot of things in them and make a lot of things happen. And this is unfortunate because we have a tendency to throw the kitchen sink at it when we have a chance. On many of these presentations, keeping it simple, like putting a title bar on the top and a footer bar on the bottom with some contact information, looks way more slick and powerful compared to adding a bunch of clutter throughout it. So find a template that keeps it simple or create something easy that also keeps it simple. Now tip 4 directly relates to tip 3. Keep the transitions simple by avoiding the built-in transitions and animations between slides. Now using a quick zoom or pan like Keynote and or Prezi allow you to, that's not the worst thing in the world, as long as you use it right and you don't go crazy with it. However, don't start bringing in individual items or bullets using animations, and don't do full slide transitions using swipes or the checker boxes or any of that nonsense. We saw all of those when they were cool in the 90s, but they become common and have been misused way too much. So let's leave the transitions and leave the animations in the 90s and just go with pulling up the new slide normally, which it's going to look awesome because you followed the other tips of keeping the words simple and putting images on the slides. Now this is really important, so much that even in slides where you have multiple bullets and you don't want the audience to see what the next point is, We're just going to put that second bullet on a new slide so that it looks like a slide has come in, but in truth, a whole new slide just flipped on. We're not going to do any kind of animation to bring that next bullet in. All right, this also leads us up to tip 5. Use more slides if you need. We've said to put bullets and images all on the same slide, and maybe you have tables and charts or large diagrams or something. All good. However, rather than cluttering everything onto one slide, go ahead and create multiple slides. Maybe use the bullet points to set up the table and then display the table on the next slide. Maybe you do a high overview comparison of two charts after you took one slide to show chart A and one slide to show chart B. Overall, we think when we are on a time limit, we have to cut down on the number of slides, but that just isn't true. You have to stay on time. The slides don't matter. This is because moving content from slide 4 to slide 3 without actually cutting any true content means that you're going to spend 5 minutes on slide 3 instead of 2 minutes on each of the slides. The time is still the same. You have to cut out actual content in order to get into a certain time frame, and then after that you can spread that content out over as many slides as needed. It's also free to add new slides, so add it and spread it out once you know that you are in the required time frame. 30 slides, 60 slides, it doesn't matter as long as you stay within the required, say, 20 minutes or whatever. So Marcus, following those 5 tips will help you get the most out of that presentation aid. Now there are a ton of videos out there on how to actually build PowerPoints or Prezis or whatever, so if you need to see some how-tos on that, be sure to look those up. However, remember that regardless of what software you use, make sure to implement the tips we just talked about, and that presentation aid will rock out. Now inevitably, there are other tips out there that can also be applied to presentation aids across the board. So if you know some of those, feel free to throw them down in the comments as well so that we can try and avoid those disastrous PowerPoint presentations that we've all had to sit through before. Also, if you like content like this where we're talking about enhancing classes and training using technology and teaching strategies, be sure to hit the subscribe button as we are always trying to get new content out there to help you guys make those educational experiences just a little bit better. And in the meantime, good luck, keep building, and we look forward to seeing what you guys create.